So good.
I think we found some EVs.
Yes, and we look really serious about it as well.
Disclaimer: we couldn't use the original.
Yes, and we look really serious about it as well.
Disclaimer: we couldn't use the original. Who is that?
Oh, we look really serious about it as well. So somebody's got linked to a YouTube running at the same time on the panel that needs to mute the other one. So somebody's got linked to YouTube running.
Can you turn your YouTube on? Yeah, all good.
Who was it? Was it you, Sam?
Who's the
No, I already got this out.
Anyway, let's move on.
So how exciting! It's our first time streaming live on YouTube and LinkedIn. So yeah, do please bear with us if we experience teething issues like that one. We're getting used to it. This is the first time for us. And this full disclaimer, that's not the original Peaky Blinders soundtrack. We couldn't use it for obvious reasons, for copyright reasons. So, but anyway, big warm welcome to all the guests and hello to the team. How are we today? How are we, Paul?
Very well, thank you.
I think John.
Yes, great. I will say for full disclosure, I've had a very stressful morning courtesy of BT. But anyway, we won't say any more about that.
Well, full disclosure, I'm having my hedges trimmed, so if you can hear that. Where's John Curtis when you need him?
Where's John Curtis when you need him? Need him to follow up on that comment.
And full disclosure for John Curtis, he's battling through congestion at the airport, I believe, and he's struggling with signal. So hence,
well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because that very thing that has happened there is as a result of the climate that we're experiencing. He's stuck because all the trains have been cancelled, the temperatures have soared, and he's had to get a taxi. And it sort of begs the question, doesn't it? You know, we're doing this on the back of the 2 hottest days ever recorded, and we've only got more of this to come. What on earth can we do about it?
Well, we could accelerate the transition to EVs and grow the EV community, maybe.
Good idea.
What an astounding idea, Saz. I hadn't thought of that.
It goes much wider than that, though, doesn't it? It goes so much wider than that, though, doesn't it? EVs is just a tiny little bit of what we need to do. Simple things. Drinking water. Where is it? You know, I've gone to a reusable water bottle. Can't fill it up anywhere, so I have to buy a plastic bottle of water to fill up my reusable cup. Madness.
We do have the geotan bottles of the
people's houses burning down. Can't go on.
Reusable bottles from
this mess out. The government have got to take it seriously, and it's down to us.
Oh, John,
it's down to us to make this happen.
Yeah,
all
the brands are available.
yeah. So anyway, as I said earlier, and as you can see, it's part of a big day for us because we are no longer using Zoom. Although I can see Paul.
I am a time delay.
Darting off to Zoom to tell people that we've moved over now. We're on YouTube and we're on LinkedIn. And we have gone on quite a journey with platforms, starting with Adobe a little over 2 years ago. Who remembers that? I think we could only have a maximum of about 50 or so guests at one time. And I think all of the special guests couldn't get in. It was just the John and Johnny show for 2 hours, wasn't it? I distinctly remember. So as we are reaching a new audience on different social channels, I think it would be a good idea to get an intro from the team. So I'll go first, and then I'll nominate. If that's okay. So we've got 2 other guys on the call here. They probably shouldn't be on this part of the call of the session, but that's okay. That's for producer Joe to worry about. So anyway, my name is. Oh, there we go. So this is the EV
Power. Oh yes.
We haven't got 2 new members. Don't worry. It's still the 5 of us. So my name is Johnny Berry, and I'm one of the 5, as you can see on the screen. And in my day job, I work as head of decarbonisation for Nobuna Vehicle Solutions, formerly known as Hitachi Capital. When do I actually stop saying that? Because it's been a few months now. Anyway, I'll hand over to Sarah to introduce herself.
Ooh, Thank you very much. I'm not sure. Well, that's Paul. Oh, that's me. Oh, Paul. It's me. I'm not sure how well you can hear me because there is some serious garden maintenance happening outside. But I've got the thumb up from Sam. Thank you. I'm Sarah Sloman. I have just recently joined PayThrough as their Director of Future Fleet. And I'm also the Director of Projects here on the EV Cafe. So I bring a sort of holistic, full-scale e-mobility solution to what we're talking about today, which is how can we accelerate the transition to electric vehicles? I'm eyeballing Paul. Over to you, Van Geek.
Well, good morning, everybody. And I've chosen today, it's a couple of days afterwards, to celebrate 1 year in business as EV Essentials. So that's really good news, right? And I've had an exciting ride, seen lots of fun things, all due to electric vans and a selfie stick. And my job within EV Cafe is commercial director. So I'm looking at how we can begin to scale our business, professionalize it, get some revenue in, and just begin to help accelerate the transition to electric vehicles. And it's over to John Curtis. Sorry.
Oh, the delay for John is hilarious.
Oh, no.
I tell you what, John, you mute yourself and let Sam do the introduction.
As soon as I start talking, he's going to start, isn't he? Oh, no, he's gone.
Go for it.
He's gone. Okay, I'll do mine, shall I?
Yeah, go for it, Sam.
I'm spotlighted now. So, hello, everybody. My name's Sam Clark. As it suggests on my shirt, actually, I work for GridServe, Chief Vehicle Officer at GridServe. And Paul's just reminded me, actually, that we celebrated a year anniversary recently as well on the acquisition of the electric highway. So that's a very proud moment for us. So look out for the wrapped chargers around the country that have got present wrapping around them. So you can always scan the QR code and win something. I don't know what it is, but you can win something. Digital housekeeping is something I look after on the EV Cafe, which means trying to keep the presenters in check. And my role generally at EV Cafe is finance. So I look after our finances for our little group as well. And no one else has mentioned it yet, or Johnny, you briefly mentioned it, but we have a producer Joe.
No,
who's
this is
hiding
my
in
bit, Sam. This is my bit.
That's your bit. You don't do your bit yet. All right, fine. I'll shut up. You do it.
No, I was just going to say about the new member of the EV Cafe team.
Oh, go on then. Go for it.
You've already ruined it. Yeah, so you'll never meet him, you'll never speak with him, but he goes by the name as producer
We
Joe.
don't let him out.
And he is the guy behind the scenes making this all look professional and work at times. Basically taking it off my hands, so I don't have to do this anymore. Bye-bye, everybody. So I can actually enjoy this show rather than flapping underneath what you can't see is I'm normally flapping, trying to get everybody in check, especially this crew Anyway, so that's us, the Avengers, we call ourselves.
Did we get John?
John, have you got signal now? You want to... I think he's still struggling. Yeah.
I hope his flight isn't this delayed.
Maybe, John, we'll just have you on the screen as making it look pretty. But I just want to say that we'd also love to hear from our audience. I know we've got a couple of comments in the chat box on LinkedIn and YouTube already. We've got people from, we've got Richie Martin from San Diego. We've got Sebastian from Catalonia. So it's good to see that we're far-reaching across the globe. But yeah, please, if you are tuning in, do say hello, where you're from, where you're tuning in from. But don't do this when you're watching it on the recording.
Yeah, kind of. I've moved to a better place. Hopefully that's better.
That's the longest delay in history.
Wow.
Is that like 30 seconds? It's got to be, isn't it?
It's really long.
Everything else has been today.
Okay, all right. John, we'll see how we get on with you, John. Anyway, shall we crack on with the show? Sarah, what are we talking about today?
What are we not talking about today? We're having a sponsorship special because we're honouring all of our sponsors and we're going to hear from each one of them. And we will be bringing you some new videos that we've had done lately through our fabulous Generate Media crew. And then we'll have maybe the news a bit later, but I've no idea how that's going to go. But really, truly wanted to thank you all for being here with our new system, because we're testing it and you are all helping us to test it like you always have. You've always helped the EV Cafe to grow. So thank you for all the patience that you're going to have to experience in the next, 50 minutes. But then we've also got a big fat secret to reveal, which I'm very excited about. So please stay tuned until 1 o'clock, where we will hopefully go to after hours if people haven't got bored of us with our delays by then.
Paul, how are we able to do this? How are we able to have producer Joe come on board and
do you know what, Johnny? That is the easiest thing in the world to answer. We are able to do that. And sorry, if it's on my screen, it's just here or there, actually. We've got the AA, Geotab, My Energy, and EV Civils. I'm not sure that we're gonna maybe announce that all later.
You just did.
You literally
Well,
just did.
I can't ignore them. They're part of the reason, right? And we just need a cuddly toy from Craig, or just bring Chris along. A little cuddly Chris from EV Civils to celebrate the great work that the AA do in supporting not only electric drivers but that whole message around sustainability and keeping vehicles working, keeping the wheels turning. Geotab bringing insight to the market through telematics, really helping with EV transition, but also helping with driving down emissions today. My Energy brilliantly bringing together solar and charging and helping people migrate to electric vehicles. And of course, EV Civils, who will be digging up the ground, but we'll hear more from them later.
And Sam, I know you said earlier that you are in charge of the digital housekeeping. What does that actually mean? What's the kind of format for today?
The format for today is, we've already started, obviously, with a load of nonsense from us lot. But yeah, so digital housekeeping is just to keep tabs on our presenters. We've got a number of different presenters who are going to be having a little chat with us today from My Energy, the AA, Geotab, etc. And of course, a new I Wonder Who It Could Be group of people in EV Civils, of course. Yeah, we've got a few videos to play as well as Sarah's news. Sarah's there's loads of really cool news stuff you don't even know about yet, and
I don't even know. This is it. It's so stupid.
Producer Joe's already done it, and we saw it before you arrived, so you're going to love that. So yeah, lots to get through, lots to discuss, and looking forward to it.
John, I can see you back on the screen. Hopefully you've got better signal now. How can our audience win a mug? Win one of these?
Yes.
Sorry.
Much. Right. The audience can win an EV Cafe mug easily. So what you have to do is come up with a really cracking question for the team. The best question of the day will receive a mug. I suspect the most cracking question will be, how can you get great Wi-Fi or broadband whilst roaming the UK?
I actually know the answer to that. I really hope this works because I've just got one of those portable Wi-Fi devices like Paul has.
Nod if you can hear me.
Yes.
It'll be a delayed nod, John, but yes, we can hear you.
I give up. I truly
They're
give
looking
up.
pretty, John.
Oh, don't give up. We need you.
There's also another way of that you can win an EV Cafe mug. We're just trying to give them away at the moment. And that's by, if you go onto our YouTube channel and subscribe, at the end of the session, we look at how many subscribers we've got from the session, and we award a mug that way as well.
Ooh, and it works well.
Oh, yeah. Melanie hasn't had hers yet from last time.
John, that's your
Melanie.
fault. Sorry, Melanie, we'll get that
Oh,
sorted.
poor John. We can just blame John for everything because he can't respond.
Producer Joe, mute John from now on. Anyway, we are running behind time. We've had some technical
Crack on with the show.
difficulties.
I love you lots.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
It's now time to welcome our first guest speaker for today. Sam, would you like to do the honours?
Yes, I can. So one of our favourite people in the world in regards to sponsorships and people that supported us right from the beginning in My Energy. So it's great to have Lewis here from My Energy, and I shall hand over to them or to him to go next. Producer Joe.
Paul, you're looking slightly concerned. Why is that?
So no, it was just we're playing with a new toy, right? So I was looking at different questions. So here's one. See, there we go. Richie Martin, I want a mug. So we have to get Richie a mug. But we can do that with any of the questions, and I've just realised that. So I was doing it accidentally. So Richie, you'll get a mug now because
Paul, you're nominated to take over the mailroom today, then, and answer some.
Okay,
Because
that could be dangerous, but yes.
do we have Lewis joining us on the call?
Lewis?
Yeah, from my end.
Oh, I love Paul's face. Somebody screenshot that immediately.
I don't know. I think
Well,
the link
perhaps Lewis
must
hasn't
be,
made
he
it.
must be. We'll follow up. Let's go with another person that's always ready.
Would that be
So
Mr.
Sam
Jarvis
pick
by any
one.
chance?
There you
There he
go.
is.
See, Aaron is always ready.
Jarvis.
There you go.
Despite not being one of Sam's favourite people, it seems.
You'll always be one of my favourites.
No, it's all right, mate. I've already given you that chat in the chat as well, just so you know that it upset me.
All right, over to you. Go on, take it over.
Oh, cheers, Sam. So I guess my role here is to give a very quick overview of Geotab and why we're involved in the EV Cafe. So I think Paul did a pretty good job previously of explaining us in 10 seconds, which I would say is exactly that. So we see our role as connecting vehicles for fleet managers primarily, and providing insights to them to help them manage their transition to electric vehicles, but also arguably more importantly, in today's day and age where electric vehicle access is slightly limited, helping them decarbonize the vehicles that they have on fleet today. So to expand on that a little bit, we're laser focused in providing tools that build on the amount of data we have in the background. So we connect over 46,000 fleets worldwide, and we are spending a lot of time and energy on getting insight from those fleets and working with those fleet managers to provide insight to others. A great example of that is our Green Fleet Dashboard, the purpose of which is to help fleets become more green. And we provide insights to those fleet managers of how they compare to other fleets. So how is your idling compared to other fleets? How many vehicles do you have that could transition to electric based on data we're seeing in the real world from electric vehicles compared to the real world data from the ICE vehicles that you've got driving around? And increasingly now in the UK specifically, we're starting to try and draw some extra insight from the market. So a great example of that is we recently released a white paper that we've done based on some freedom of information requests into local authorities. And there's some interesting stats that come out of that, such as 20% of local authorities completely butchered that stat. 20% of local authorities don't have any EVs on fleet today, and only 4 of the local authorities that responded had more than 20% of their fleets that were electric. So we're starting to try and step into the world of identifying areas that are a lot weaker in the transition than others, so that we can generate tools and routes into that market to help them. So that was a pretty rambly overview of Geotab from me, but hopefully gives you a good picture.
What was it that they only have 20%?
So yeah, I completely butchered it, Sarah. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
I'm just highlighting that fact.
Yeah,
I'm joking, but I do want to know.
20% of the local authorities that responded, which was about 100, had no EVs on fleet, and only 4 of the fleets that responded had more than 20% of their fleet were EVs, which is confusing because both numbers are 20%, but basically not many EVs in local authorities, which was interesting to us.
How many local authorities are there? Is it 164? Does anyone know on the comments watching live? How many local authorities are there in the country? I don't know. I think it's 160 something, but that's amazing. So part of the charm of Geotab then is to identify areas of weakness for this transition, and then you will create bespoke tools to help them. Because I think so many people just think it's just the telematics device that goes into the vehicle. They've got no idea about the Green Fleet. Is it called Green Fleet Dashboard, right?
It is indeed, yeah. And so that's a good point. I think it's easy when we're introduced as a telematics company to think about the hygiene factors of telematics, accelerating, braking, idling, and those types of things. But actually, Geotab's quite focused on being more of an insight company. So, connecting vehicles, whether that's by putting a device in or being pre-integrated with the OEM, and then using that data to provide tools that actually help with things that are, let's say, less traditional, like transitioning to electric vehicles, assuring that your charging is going well, and all those other good bits.
Sarah, your question's been answered.
Well, lots of times, but they're all different figures, eh? 333, 333, 154. Then we've got 350 local authorities, 160 highways. It's crazy out there. Like the challenge in the first place is working out who is where and who needs what. 333.
I think we can agree that the majority think that it's 333. So
yeah.
And is that a coincidence because it's a nice number to say, or is that actually the number, do we think?
It's just peer pressure. Nobody wants to be wrong. No, that's good.
And lots of people have said it now.
Neil's got it. That's a really good summary. Thank you. Look at that.
I've
This
got
is
a
why we
question.
love the community.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, Aaron, which is more recent one, and that's you probably noticed for those of us in the UK, it's been a little bit warm lately. Has that affected, or have you had any feedback from any customers, etc.? There's a lot of chat about battery temperatures and overheating of vehicles, and probably might affect telematics potentially as well, I think. So I know when I got in my car yesterday, it was 58 degrees inside. So, you know, have you had any feedback from any customers in regards to how the heat has affected things over the last few days?
So we haven't had a ton of feedback, but like this chat, we've had a lot of questions. So what we're doing now is looking into, you know, across the several thousand electric vehicles we've got equipped in Europe, what was the effect? You know, so can we glean an outcome? It's something that we've already looked at in the past in terms of the way temperature affects range. And we have, based on the countries we work in, a good insight across a variety of temperatures. I forget the exact number, but I think it's something like, and Paul might correct me here, 29 degrees is the optimal temperature for a battery.
25, 29. It will vary but yeah, 25 is often spoken about as being optimal.
Yeah, and so what we don't have or haven't had in the past is looking at our fleets in the UK specifically, how they're performing in those very high temperatures. So we have a good amount of data around, you know, the grey UK weather range is like 10 degrees to 30 degrees. And so we're now looking specifically at fleets in the UK and how that kind of 39, 40 data point affected them in the last couple of days. So hopefully on an EV Cafe soon, we'll be able to give some outcome to these questions that are being asked in the chat.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you, Aaron. So on a personal note as well, as a personal experience yesterday, so the EV Cafe group had a conference call with one of our other sponsors, the AA, and I was traveling at the time, so I pulled over to do the call, and it was very hot yesterday, and I couldn't find any shade because I was out of time to be able to pull over anywhere under the shade. So I sat in the heat for an hour, and how long was our session, guys? Hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. But the entire time it was 38 degrees outside, and for the entire time it was 19 degrees inside because I had the aircon on the whole time. And it affected my range. I could see it going down as we were going through the meeting, but it affected it by 10 miles of range. So it was interesting as a statistic that in the most extreme UK heat we've ever seen, but keeping me nice and cool, the net result it would appear to be was around 10 miles worth of range, which, given the car would have been working really hard to keep me cool, I think that's pretty reasonable. So it just goes to show that from an air conditioning point of view, and I suspect in the dead of winter, it would be a slightly different story because the heating uses up a lot more energy than aircon does. But nevertheless, you know, that's not a huge, I was surprised actually. I was expecting to lose more range as a result of sitting in that heat for an hour and a half, 2 hours. But, you know, 10 miles, I think I was very happy with that. That was a very decent efficiency metric that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Aaron, I have a quick question. It might not be a quick question, but just for our audience more than anything else, really. So if we understand that using telematics can help a fleet identify what can be electrified and when and how and all that kind of stuff, but how can telematics help with the operations of running an EV fleet? So whether that's from, driver training or learning more about the battery and the degradation side of things, or even enhancing it by building it into the ecosystem, so around charging. So a bit of an open question about how it actually helps with an EV operating.
Good question. You're right. Maybe not necessarily a short answer, but I'll try and pick some highlights. So yeah, I mean, there's a few different ways. So we have a number of fleets now in the UK that are using the data that we can get them from the vehicle to manage charge assurance. So what we mean by that is, you know, for example, has Paul forgotten to plug his car, his van in the depot so that tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Yeah, exactly. I use you as the example every time I tell this story, actually, Paul. Has Paul remembered to plug in his van so that 6 a.m. tomorrow morning when he's due to start his shift, he has 200 miles range in the battery that he'll need to do the job? Or similarly, has Sarah forgotten to unplug her van so that there's, so that the balancing's there?
All the EV Cafe have vans now. It's a thing.
I love a van.
So that would be one good example on the charging side of things. In terms of the driver behavior side of things, something that's becoming more and more prevalent. So on one side of the driver behavior, that's, have you suddenly jumped into an electric van? I'll stay on vans because my eyes are fixed on Paul. Have you suddenly jumped into an electric van? You're demoing it for a week and actually get terrible range because it's fast and you're driving it a bit like a go-kart, and you haven't really understood that, great, you need to drive it in a slightly different way. Maybe you need to behave slightly differently in terms of going downhill, uphill, heating the cab as an example, and being able to report back to the fleet manager, or actually if that's to the dealership that's trying to accelerate how many electric vehicles they're providing, to say you need to drive slightly differently, and here's what good driving looks like in an electric vehicle. So on that side of the driver behavior, and then also on the other side is looking at, as a fleet manager that's got a budget to control, are the drivers utilizing the equipment that we've provided to them? So we've put chargers in at home so that they can charge overnight, so they can complete their job during the day, and actually they're stopping to rapid charge every day when maybe for whatever reason they're using the charger for something different at home, or they keep forgetting, or whatever that is. Giving the fleet manager the tools to be able to say, hey, we've got a policy in place now, and we can report on the fact this is happening and help coach you into better behavior. Go on, Paul.
Well, I wanted to add to that because, Aaron, we, as you know, we went from John O'Groats to Land's End just a couple of weeks ago. Well, it feels like a couple of weeks ago, but we literally travelled 1,400 miles. About 1,400 miles. And what we were able to report with all of that was that the four of us that drove were able to get really good driving scores. And the driving scores really helped improve the miles per kilowatt hour that we got from the vehicles. So the vehicles were performing well because we had great driver scores. And also we're just beginning to interpret the data now, but getting data in on where we charged, when we charged, how much energy we put in the vehicles, we were able to look at the cost and then also compare that cost to the cost of diesel. So it was like 1,600 if we'd have done it in diesel and 600 if we did, as we did in electric. And so, the data brings incredible insight that really supports that transition.
What is the variance for driver behaviour then on a range? Because we kind of understand a little bit on topography and weather, climate and stuff like that. But what's the actual variance do you think it is?
I think
depends if you're on Team Karcher or not.
Did we learn anything from that rally?
To be honest, we haven't run the comparison between really good driving, which we did just last, over that period, and then maybe taking another 5-day period with fleets with a different score. Aaron, I think that's a great thing that we could do together to just kind of call that out. Say, look, if you drive at 90 driver score, and you drive at 70 driver score, what's the difference? What an interesting piece of work that would be.
Yep, that's a really good point, actually, Paul. And I think we could do that probably specifically with the vehicles you were driving as well. So compare them used by less skilled, less careful drivers, let's say.
Less skilled. Let's go with less skilled.
In their normal life. So, that's a really good output. And actually, to try and, not to answer your question directly, Johnny, I would really say it's how long is a piece of string in terms of, similarly to, if you said, what's the variance in MPG, Paul getting slightly better, 2% variance, Aaron driving like an idiot, and then driving lots better could be 20% variance. So it's important to look specifically at cases, I think.
Excellent.
Sam, why are you laughing? Is it because I said Paul could only get a little bit better?
No, I'm laughing at Richie Martin.
He's
put a comment. Yeah. He said Sam's scores were a bit corrupted. Heard he was driving backwards quicker than he was driving forward, which was quite funny. He's correct. We did a slalom sort of assault type course, or a, what do we call it? Like a maneuverability course or something. Where were we? God, my brain's gone.
Rockingham.
Rockingham. Thank you, Paul. It's for BCA's one of BCA's sites and Cinch. So. Yeah, we just had some fun there, and I did indeed do reverse slalom through a course with an EV quite quickly. So thanks, Richie. You're absolutely right. I was going faster backwards than I was forwards.
So
Into a wall, or was that another team?
That was a cone. I didn't hit the wall. I hit a cone.
John Curtis put
Virtual wall.
that came up saying that he laughed out loud. I don't know if you saw it. It flashed up on our screen, and nobody heard him. I can't remember what it said. But who is John Curtis anyway? Where is he? You would have seen from the beginning, the intro video, that we did this kind of Peaky Blinders tribute video. And that was actually at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. And so we actually created another video, a special for the AA, in partnership with the AA. And so producer Joe, would you mind rolling the video?
The VT. Is it called VT? Is that what they say?
VT. Well,
Video
VT.
tape.
It's all
Roll the VT, Joe.
Yeah. Roll something. Do something.
What I'm enjoying is seeing the internal chat here with producer Joe.
Yeah.
Right, and
Get off, Aaron.
you don't get to talk about the secrets.
Yes, we have no private chat. What are you on about?
It'll be in the, which one is it? Is it the AA one?
It's got to be the AA because they can't be with
Has
us
it-
today. So we're going to represent.
Okay, we're bearing our laundry. Has it been saved in the G drive? Because that's the only place he
okay.
has access to.
Okay.
Should we do that?
Yes. Yeah, we can play it, then that'd be great. I've got another video we were due to play, which was an announcement video, which is not really a surprise anymore. It's about our new sponsor. Can we play that?
Who might that be?
Yeah, who the hell could that be, Paul? He gave it away earlier if you're just tuning in.
So will I get to those videos and right? Okay.
Oh,
I will.
Yeah.
Right,
I've just
hang
got
on.
a running order from John Curtis. Yeah. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is the first time we've used this platform and sharing on YouTube and LinkedIn. So please bear with us as we go through these teething issues. Quite clearly,
Hey, it's comedy gold, surely.
The outtakes are going to be excellent.
Yeah.
I actually think you should include the chat with Joe in the outtakes because it's.
Okay, I want to
great.
read the chat with Joe. I'll be back.
He said no one has told him about these videos.
Wow.
But in his
Yesterday,
defense,
Joe
I'll
and I
stick up to
had
you
a
here,
call.
Joe, because
Should we get
20
Joe on?
minutes ago he did ask.
Get Joe on.
So we can watch him finding the videos.
Shall we move on to the next guest speaker for today then? Thanks for your time, Aaron, and we'll welcome you back on later for a question. And
So well, hang on. I've got the Goodwood video if we want it.
yes,
So why don't you
yeah,
try
I think
to
it's worth
upload
sharing.
it, Paul? Why don't you should press the share button, see if you can play the video file.
I'm
Are
just,
we asking Paul to do something technically?
Yeah, we are. It happens every
you
time.
cheeky people.
Paul's wallpaper tells me that he can't share this video.
Well, so I'm not ready yet.
Okay, well, let's
Um,
bring Chris on then from EV Civils.
Well, I can do the EV Civils video. Should we try? Should we try?
Breaking news
Oh.
here at Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Can't see him.
Right, hang on. Let's get it. Should we try?
Yeah.
Well, we heard it. So producer
Yeah,
Joe
I
can
know. So I'm trying to. Hang on. There we go. So I'm having to switch between screens, which in a way I'm not used to. Right, let's get back here. It's all seamless.
It's the EV Cafe session yet.
It was going so well.
Green.
Oh, I
Screen
love
sharing
Paul's.
is
I
easy
hope
as
this works.
Share screen.
It's kind of like a grimace and a smile, isn't it?
I know, I love it. It's good.
Hang on, hang on. Let's
Oh, he's
get.
winning now.
Clever.
He's winning.
We're getting there. We're almost there. Boom. Right, this is as good as it's going to get. Pete. Are we all right with this?
The EV Cafe have a new sponsor. Welcome, EV Civils.
So I'm here with Craig Hibbert, who is from EV Civils. And Craig, you have brilliantly decided to sponsor the EV Cafe. Why?
What a great idea. Because I like the platform that the EV Cafe are building. I think we're becoming quite iconic in the EV industry in general.
Now, EV Civils, lots of people do civils for electric vehicles. What's different about you guys?
Well, at present, we are the only branded EV civils company in the country. And what makes us different, I'm very focused at the moment on looking towards doing net zero civils and also looking at lean management to do with civils as well, because lean management can contribute a lot to people's carbon footprint. We want to sort of spread the word and make a bit of a big deal about it, really.
EV Civils, full of passion, full of insight, and now full of the EV Cafe. Fantastic. Thank you, Craig.
Stop sharing now, Paul, if you like.
No, I know.
every time. Every time I see that video.
Well done.
There he is.
Did I miss the intro where I burst through you all and my Wi-Fi just decided to stop working? I had to go out and come back.
It was there. We'll send it to you.
Thank you. Is it as bad as I think it is, or is it better? Or
it's a work of dramatic art.
I've got a
also
puppy
just
crate
like to
at the
say
side.
as well-
If you hear any strange noises, it's coming from the puppy and the mother. So I'm
Can I just give a nod to your T-shirt, please, Craig? Because that is absolutely banging. Well done. Good job.
Thank you.
It
I
is.
thought it was
I've
very.
already said how good it is.
I thought it was very relevant.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
why have you partnered up with EV Cafe?
Again, it's sort of something that we've been monitoring, myself and Chris. Unfortunately, Chris was meant to do the interview, but you've got myself now instead. So sorry about that. Sorry.
I'll just say, a slight joke to say that everything's going right this afternoon.
Yes, it's fantastic. I think I'm having BT type problems, and I don't know what I pay my Wi-Fi for, but I think the hot weather's fried the system. Paul, you're nodding like approving. Are you there?
Yeah, honestly, we won't go there. That was my transparency at the beginning. Was BT giving me a headache? But anyway, Craig, I mean, it's really interesting that you're supporting us. What is it that EV Civils do?
We basically, we are currently a turnkey solution. We set out, we were mainly focused on just doing civils installations. At the time, we was doing other civils projects, non-EV related. I decided about 18 months ago that this was the route we wanted to go down. I subsequently sold the other part of the company and we branded as EV Civils. That alone has probably done us more favours than we realised it would. If you Google EV Civils, well, there we are, and without even trying. So yeah, we've had plenty of inquiries and interest just purely from people Googling that. So yeah, it's helped us massively.
And I understand that you guys are focused on doing it differently to really focus in on getting it to zero emissions, net zero, but using electric and zero emission machinery where you can.
Yeah, so it was more, we were looking at it and thinking, okay, how do we clean up the dirty part of the job? And it really is the dirty part of the job. When the electricians come in and do their part, it's pretty much all swept up, tidied up, cleaned up. And, we all know electricians don't like to tidy up after themselves. So it's, we've really started to look into it. So, even going to look at, there's American companies working on net zero tarmac, a massive emission booster. I think, Paul, I've had conversations with you before regarding it's an almost net zero civils. How do you get the dirty part which releases so many emissions, even down to aggregates and such things like that. But people are really making headway with it down to zero emissions concrete as well. And then obviously there's the excavators and the plant and the machinery and everything that comes with it. And it's not just pollution. There's noise pollution to take into consideration if you're using electric tools. There's various other things, the amount of dust that's released, people using the correct water suppression. There's many times I see a building site and there's clouds of dust being released, and it's dead simple. Just use dust suppression. It's not it's not all about having a battery powered excavator. There's other things that we can do, like HVO fuels. Again, I've spoke to you guys about lean management, something I mentioned in the interview there. There's a real whole manner of things that you can do when it comes to aiming towards net zero civils, especially even just planning. We've had it where we've gone to do a job, the survey's not been carried out by somebody qualified or experienced in civil, and it's no disrespect to them or anything they've done. They've done it from an electrical point of view, and we're then having to go to site. We've readied the troops, we've turned up on site, expecting everything to be hunky-dory. It's about minimising the amount of times you visit site. If you're doing a civil survey, an electrical survey, you've only got one person going. If you're sending 2 people in 2 vehicles, and it's all about that lean management, and I feel it's massively overlooked. There's things at the core that you can do before you even break ground and start to do, the initial civils. But then a lot of it comes down to cost as well. People, if we offered something, we look to do is offer two services in the future, and what we're working towards, where we will do a standard installation. And I know it sounds bad really, but people will go with the cheaper option. They're always going to go with the cheaper option. They're trying to save money, even though they're trying to be seen to be green. So it's if you offer a premium electric installation, that might take a little bit longer and it's going to cost you a bit more money. Most people are going to shake their head and say, no, we'd rather turn up with your diesel vans and your diesel excavators and, just come and do what you have to do, get it done as fast as possible and get out of there. And it's not the mindset that we need to sort of start instilling into people, especially the bigger companies. I know some of them are really well on the way with doing what they're doing, electric vans. I know, Paul, we had a meeting and we was looking at the likes of Openreach and I think it was Cadent Gas, and they're having their vans fitted out, so they're on with it. But it's the smaller guys, and there's more of them, and the smaller outfits. Cost is always going to come into it, isn't it? But then obviously I'm really keen on looking at the durability of, it's a hard working industry. It's the durability of stuff, especially in the weather that we've just had. If you've got little small pieces of plant, maybe a trench rammer or a disc cutter, and it's left in the sun all day because the lads not took it back to the van, what damage is that going to do? And again, it all comes down to reducing emissions. As you rightly said before, we're experienced in the hottest spell that any of us have ever experienced without going on holiday. And it all adds to it, doesn't it?
It does, Craig.
As well.
What this strikes me as, and we've been talking about this as the EV Cafe a lot recently, the message around sustainability as a whole, because listen, the market is where the market is, and we are struggling to get electric cars, we're struggling to get electric vans, electric trucks are still just coming on stream, electric diggers are just on the cusp. We still can't tow in so many ways. So it's so important that when we're looking at, as you call it, the dirty side of the industry, and not in a negative sense, but just it's a nuts and bolts thing. We're having to get our hands dirty. It's about sustainability. It's about the environment, the social, the governance. It's about 100%. ESG. Just wrapping all of that in, and it's brilliant that somebody like yourselves are focusing on that in order to be able to say, look, guys, we need to think beyond just sticking an electric charge point and an electric vehicle in. Sustainability is about taking the whole supply chain and bringing it to life.
And I think that comes back to the reason why, we've sort of watched you guys and watched the platform that you've built, and we're looking at it thinking, well, we're just a little fish in what's rapidly becoming a massive pond. How can we be heard, and who's actually going to listen to us? If it's just little old us on LinkedIn doing the odd post and people aren't really paying attention because they're just getting on with the day, aren't they? And it's, and it's not just within the EV charging industry. It's sustainability in general. You've got solar panels and solar farms and wind farms and all the rest of it. They all use civils. But I worked on a job at a cheese factory once, and we put in, and at the time I wasn't even thinking about any of this. I was just a young lad doing a civils job, and we was putting in the concrete foundations for a wind turbine. And we had, I think there was 20 diesel concrete wagons backed up, and a diesel wagon that we had the pump, and it was pumped, and no one even thought for 1 minute. I think there was an issue with the way the concrete had been ordered, so they had to come back on another day, and if they'd have ordered more, they'd have had less wagons, etc. So again, talking about the lean management side of things, and it's just about making people aware. For us, consultancy with other companies is as important as actually doing the job ourselves, trying to educate people, and not even so much education, just putting the thought and the idea in their head, really.
So, Craig, there's a question from Gideon on the chat. How do you clean up the concrete, which presumably is in reference to embedded carbon that's within the process of making the concrete in the first place, I would imagine, and then laying it. Are those sort of areas, things that you're really looking into in terms of the way in which these constructs of the civils part is exercised?
Yeah, so there's various companies who are working towards, or I think there's two of them that we know of who are pretty much there with a carbon neutral concrete. I mean, I don't know how much you know about concrete and what happens with it, the chemical reaction and the gases that are released in the process as it goes off. I'm not a scientist by any means, and I won't bore you with the details, but it's quite carbon intensive, as is tarmac. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to come on and say, no, you're wrong, this, and this, as you get, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it? But yeah, there are companies working towards this carbon. Richie Martin, he says we need to have a chat. Right, okay, yeah, get in touch. He's throwing me out of my stride now. I need to not read the comments in the bottom corner.
Isn't it? You want to read them all the time. I guess, is there a way of EV Civils reporting on what they think the output is of the CO2 equivalents from an install?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of another thing, I'd love to do what we're doing now, but obviously do a podcast with you guys, and we can actually get down to the nitty gritty, the facts and figures for the people who are genuinely interested. I've got a list at the side of me here, and I'm probably only a quarter of the way through it. I could probably waffle on for a good hour or so, just breaking down the various parts and probably making people aware, or putting the idea in people's heads of where they can do better. And
you're seeing a lot of large car parks, but only a few charge points. Are there things that you can do in EV Civils, or you advise to maybe think about future-proofing?
Sorry, my lovely internet maybe missed that first part. What did you say again, Johnny?
No, I was just saying that large car parks, you'll find that if I drive into Tesco's, for example, there's just the 2 pod point units. Yes. Are there things that you do or advise the client to say that you need to consider future proofing, so you don't have to dig it up again? Or is there things that you do?
I mean, we work with pod point on a daily basis these days. And it's, we can suggest things to. It's a really good point, to be fair, because we've often said, for us as a company, and again, it's that cost money thing, and everybody's quite content with just doing enough. No one's really future proofing. We've got we're about to do a job at a London bus depot, a major bus depot, and they're massively future proofing, but that's a really good way to look at it. But then, like you say, you've got the big organisations like Tesco's who are just doing enough on each car park to make sure that they've got 2 car parking spaces. When we all know they've got, some of them, 1,000 parking spaces. So if you look at the ratio, what's 2? It's a scratch, isn't it? It's not even. It's nothing. But yeah, it's suggestions that we make, and the likes of Tesco's. It's something for Pod Point to definitely put forward to them. But.
Yeah, thank
you, guys.
The
Gideon Richards comment I just highlighted. How do we get specifiers to only go this way? And what we mean by specifiers is the people writing the tenders, and we talked about local councils earlier, that they don't have a plan necessarily, or a significant percentage. Obviously the EV Cafe is a platform. We are a voice and looking to influence the market and elevate the knowledge. What other ways can we amplify this message to get specifiers to go zero emissions on their civils, or as good as, how can we get that into the supply chain, I guess?
I think it's the same as the previous conversation that you was having to do with local councils, and how do you get, and I know in our local council, you've got Lancashire County Council, then within that you've got South Ribbleborough Council, and what South Ribbleborough do isn't what Lancashire do, and it's very difficult, isn't it? Unless you've got a solid blueprint of an installation process and everyone must work to it, then how do you police it and how do you govern it? And again, I feel it always comes back to cost. That doing it that way is expensive, doing it that way is cheap and quicker. Like the battery power of some electric power tools have come a long way in our lifetime, haven't they? But again, it's still not quite there with the length of time that battery will last. How many batteries do you need to have on site? You know, I know guys who work for the likes of Openreach and other places, and they'll have to carry 10 or 15 batteries if they know they've got extensive civils to do, and even then that might not be quite enough. Again, you know, it's the how if you like working on the BT on the infrastructure work for the fiber optics, and you've got a long stretch of footpath to dig up, how long is that excavator going to last before you've got to recharge it? Then you've got to drive off and charge it somewhere else. So them things are stuff that will come in time, I feel. You know, again, with anything, you know, the same as the cars, especially the vans, Paul, pickup vans, you know, crew cab tippers, they're a real big must. But you know, the minute you put a ton of sand on the back and the lads are off, what is the longevity? How far are they going to get? How many trips can they do with that weight? You know, bearing down on the back of the truck, and you know, and then also towing an excavator, an electric excavator, which is. It then comes down to the weight of the excavator. Yeah, there's so many things, so many particulars that come into play, isn't it?
I think what's great though, Craig, about us having this conversation is, you know, even in the chats, you can see people are sort of some people are informed and know about this area, and some clearly aren't, and are, you know, are delighted that we're bringing it to the fore. So, you know, we're obviously delighted to have you as a sponsor, but better than that, we're actually showcasing the wider area of sustainability and all the different facets. It's not just about putting chargers in the ground or the infrastructure, but, you know, it's the concrete that those chargers sit on. It's the vehicles that we drive. There's so many different facets to it, and all of them needs, you know, many hands do light work, right? So we all of these little areas of the entire ecosystem as a collective will hopefully drive the change that we all want to do. And I think it was, oh God, there's so many comments now, but I think it was Andy Roberts.
I'm trying not to look at them.
Andy Roberts said, "Is it not us to educate the local authorities?" I think these sort of forums is a mechanism by which we're trying to help educate, make aware, just generally, right? And having guys like yourself come on and actually talk about these things is really powerful, because hopefully there'll be people who are listening today that will then have that in the back of their mind the next time they see concrete being laid or a diesel generator firing off.
Yeah. Beautifully said, Sam. Well done.
Thank you.
We do usually have a Q&A section, but that's normally John Curtis's remit, but he's struggling with internet connectivity at the moment. So, yeah, exactly. Who? Yeah, some guy just ran.
Well, we've lost Sarah from the visual as well.
Yeah,
I'm still here.
Well, we've lost Sarah because we're about to go live to Sarah in the newsroom.
Apparently.
Studio. So over to you, Sarah.
Okay.
Ready for you, Joe. Do your thing.
There we go. That was the quickest thing I've ever seen.
Look at this! Yay!
Oh, we just need some music, don't we?
Oh, we need some music, yeah. Welcome to the EV Cafe News. I'm Sarah Sloman. It's lunchtime, and please bear with me because I've only got 90 seconds, and I guarantee the hedge trimming will recommence any second, and my signal is terrible. But we bring you 3 real stories from the EV world today. According to Energy Storage News, the UK will have 50 gigawatt plus of energy storage installed by 2050 in a best case scenario attainment of net zero, according to grid operator National Grid's Future Energy Scenarios report. Electricity storage capacity is set to increase in all scenarios to ensure peak demand can be met reliably, as an increasing proportion of the UK's electricity is generated from weather-dependent renewables. Meanwhile, friends at ZapMap, does anyone else go, ZapMap, ZapMap? Like, no. Have published new mid-year figures for charge point installations in 2022. Drum roll, please, because at the end of June, ZapMap's data shows that the number of ultra-rapid charge points has grown almost 40% since the end of 2021. This shows that the ultra-rapid charging rollout is more than keeping pace with the increase in EV drivers, which has gone up 29%. So the growth in ultra-rapid chargers is largely due to networks such as MFG, Instavolt, Osprey and GridServe Electric Highway, who are rolling out high-speed charging hubs which must consist of at least 6 devices. And lastly, the High Court has ruled that the government's net zero strategy breaches the Climate Change Act and must be updated with quantifiable data. The ruling from the Royal Courts of Justice has been branded a landmark victory for climate justice by green activists, and the government will need to be clear on exactly how its policies will achieve climate targets based on realistic assessment of what can actually be delivered. Not like government to be a little woolly around the edges and avoid some precise figures. But speaking of governance, we have a new governor of our own, don't we? So Mr. Mr. Paul Kirby, electric van geek, hashtag only vans. What can EV Cafe fans expect from us now that we have the super duper, slightly absent Mr. Curtis as our ops director?
Well, it is great news, isn't it, that John is now full-time on the EV Cafe and made possible by everybody that has supported us and gives us that option. John is a brilliant proponent of all things sustainability. He has long since helped government and transition in the UK to bring to life this electric vehicle transition. And so it's just going to get better, isn't it? I mean, now we've got somebody full-time. We might actually respond to your emails. We might occasionally get back to you on your comments, pay our bills. All of those great things. But one thing you can be sure of is when he gets back, a good dose of craziness. That's why we love you, John.
Oh, we miss
are
him.
the best.
Hashtag only vans.
Yeah, hashtag only vans.
Yeah, only vans, that's mine. That's what we
No.
need to claim that.
I've got to pay the bills, guys.
Sarah, thanks for that. That truly saved today's show. I think that 90 seconds, that was brilliant.
Oh, I'm so pleased. And can you hear that? Can you hear that? They're literally streaming outside the front door. You can't hear that. I can't even hear you.
Got a good microphone by the time of it.
A very good microphone.
Producer Joe, do we have that Goodwood Festival Speed AA video ready? Can we play that before the end of our session?
There's a shake of head.
Oh, really?
There's more shaking of head.
God.
Oh. Paul, can you do it?
I can, yeah.
Yeah. I love how he looks like to his assistant, as if he's got someone right there to help.
Let's get rid of that.
While Paul's doing that, can I just raise a point, Sarah, on your news, which is a point for another day. But one thing you mentioned quite a few times was the word ultra rapid, which makes my skin crawl.
Well, you say I mentioned it. I read it off the news.
You read it, whatever. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying that I think at some point it would be really good to talk about naming convention because these descriptors need to go. Yeah, it's all about power. We're all talking about power, not about whether it's ultra, light speed, fast, slow. It's far too complicated. We need to get down to the basics of what we're actually talking about, which is power.
Yeah.
But if we were doing polls ever, we would do a poll to say, should we do a jargon busting session? I would vote yes.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like a closing tradition of the show, really, is to discuss what we're going to discuss next time.
Right, guys, I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Well done for talking amongst yourselves.
Are we ending the show after the video? Is that our end of our session? Because it's now 1 o'clock.
I think we all need to lie down. Let's watch the AA and give them the praise they deserve, and then out.
So shall we say goodbye now, and then we'll watch the video and then sign off? So thank you very much.
Watch the video though.
We'll be better next time.
We just about blagged it though.
Is that out?
We definitely blagged it, yeah. Well, they've done hundreds of hours of sessions before. It's just that this is a new platform for us. So thank you very much.
It's the Windows. Can you hear that noise?
No.
Okay, good. Right. Right, so we're ready.
Yeah.
Yay.
Producer Joe, close us at the end of this video. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We didn't give away the mug.
We'll do it online on LinkedIn later on. We'll get
okay.
I'm Edwin King, president of the AA. We're here at the Goodwood Festival of Speed at Electric Avenue. Looking forward to talking to the EV Cafe. Already, the AA is here to give power to electric drivers, from learning to drive to buying a car, leasing a car. If you break down, we're there to help you. Well, the AA is involved with the EV Cafe because the EV Cafe are just brilliant at demystifying nonsense.
We're all on the road to net zero, and we need support along the way. From vehicles to infrastructure, the AA has it covered.
On the EV Cafe, we're looking to do anything we can to accelerate the transition to electric vehicles, and they put the driver first, so they can answer all of your questions and queries and give you the confidence to do so.
Well, for the AA, the environment is a big issue. Electric cars are great. They're good to drive. They're good for the environment. They're good for the economy. So we want to encourage it.
So why the AA? Well, that's easy.
because they're going through a transition process. They are passionate about electric vehicles, just like us. And we need to be alongside them, helping them to make that transition flawless. We're lucky enough to have the AA on the EV Cafe webinars on a fairly regular basis. Why? Because they're passionate about what they do and they're so professional. We just love them.
I'm a really big fan of the AA because they are beyond breakdown these days in that they're innovating to help electric drivers. But not only that, they're adding electric vans to their fleet.
The thing I like about the AA is that for an old established institution, they're all about innovation, collaboration and diversification, particularly for looking after charging infrastructure companies across the UK.
So we're there for the whole journey, and we just want to reassure people the AA's here, whether you're electric, petrol or diesel.
Bye-bye.